Hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. We're back with Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm Shaun alongside my guys, Jaevon, Kevin Dent is here. There he is right there. Garry Singh is working tonight, so we will catch Garry next week. We were off last week, the first week that we've taken off since we started this thing a year ago, and we actually celebrated our 1-year anniversary. I believe it was actually last Wednesday, if we're going to be precise, for when the first episode of Stats Over Politics was. And so happy anniversary, gentlemen. Kevin, how are you feeling about 1 year of Stats Over Politics?
It's crazy to think how fast time went. I remember when, it was episode 1, we were getting the kinks out of the way. Looking back on those clips, I'm like, man, I really put this shit out there. This was really the representation of Stats Over Politics. And just to see a year full of the growth, man, we've came a long way. We're one step closer to getting where we want to go. So, but we're nothing without you guys. So I'm happy you guys are here to celebrate 2 years with us, man. Appreciate you guys.
Most definitely. And my guy Toddy, we've been at this thing for a while now. This is 3 years that you and I have been podcasting together. And I'm wearing the Shaun and Vonny shirt, throwing it back to the Be Heard podcast platform today, because this past weekend we celebrated Toddy and his girlfriend Sophia and their beautiful family that is growing soon. And I just, before we get Toddy's thoughts on our 1 year anniversary, I just wanted to show these pictures real quickly for our YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter audience. As we got me, Toddy, and Garry put.
For those of you that don't know, I do not live in Sac, so that's the only reason why I'm not there. I don't want you guys to say, damn, that Kev don't fuck with Toddy. That's not the case.
No, Kev, he had other plans, so couldn't make it.
No, we know Kevin lives in Oregon. Business. We know that you would be there if you could, Kevin. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, Kev would have to cross state lines to get to where we're at, but it was fun. I was just a guy. I was just trying to be the host, and this is baby showers are more predicated to the woman, and so I'm just like, I got all the big gifts that we were opening up. I'm just like, oh my god, and then I'm asking myself, what is this for? what are we gonna use with this for? And so we got a lot of leftover stuff. So I'm set on sodas for the rest of the month. I can tell you that.
Yep. Solid on the sodas. And so shout out to Sophia, as you can see in this photo with Jaevon. And also shout out to brother Jesse, Garry's brother, who is a loyal listener of Stats Over Politics and also in our Stats Over.
Yeah, that was all.
What do you have?
We were representing.
Here,
that might be a little better there.
If Kev would have stepped out, it would have been Travis Scott.
I would have worn my Crocs. It was your day. I would have worn my Crocs.
Yeah, wearing Crocs.
Well, Mako Toddy is on his way very soon. Mako Jesus Angel Toddy, correct? Did I remember that correctly?
Angel Jesus.
Angel Jesus. Damn it! I had the 4 names. I just flipped it. My bad. But yeah, Mako is on his way very
Uncle
soon.
Shaun is learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. And so I appreciate your patience with me on that as well. But Mako will be here very soon. And it was nice to celebrate Toddy and Sophia this past weekend, as here we are for episode number 61 of Stats Over Politics. year 2, season 2, however you want to phrase it. Let's ride. I don't know if I necessarily want to say season 2 because except for just taking 1 week off, we haven't stopped and we're not going to stop. So I'm just going to say year 2 of Stats Over Politics. And because we started doing bonus episodes here and there, that's why this is episode 61 rather than 53. And we're just going to keep going. And now we got our Friday episodes and we're just going to keep going, keep delivering this content for you guys, as Kevin says. And we're excited. So thanks for tuning in. And let's get right into it, gentlemen. As week 10 in the NFL happened this past weekend, it just finished up. As Jaevon alluded to, Broncos country is riding high right now after getting a win in Buffalo against the Bills on Monday Night Football. But going back to the local team, which is the San Francisco 49ers, when we last spoke to you all, the 49ers were on a 3-game losing streak heading into their bye week. Last week was the bye. We didn't miss anything when it comes to 49ers content, except the fact that Deebo Samuel returned, Trent Williams returned for this Sunday's game. But before all of that, Jaevon, the San Francisco 49ers, they acquired an elite talent who hails from the Ohio State University. That man is none other than Chase Young, who got traded from the Washington Commanders. And so before we get into the 49ers wrecking the Jaguars on Sunday, Toddy, I wanted to get your thoughts on this Chase Young trade for the 49ers.
I don't know if you guys heard of him, Chase Young, former number 2 overall pick. Apparently, he just fell off of. I guess he's not that good anymore.
He was just hurt
for a 3rd-round pick. I guess people just forgot how good he was. I get he tore his ACL, but man, when you go to the Commanders, it's like a wasteland for your team. We fleeced the Commanders or Redskins back in the day for a couple of other guys that you may or may not have. Trent Williams is the guy who
He's pretty good.
He beat cancer, and he was refusing to play for Mr. Snyder and those guys over there, and ended up getting traded to San Francisco 49ers, and then Chase Young now joined the squad. Another I'd say very talented young player that is, and I think just because of the ACL injury, a lot of people kind of forgot that he was the number 2 overall pick. There was a bite a while ago of Chase Young and Mike Tomlin. I don't know if you heard of that guy. And they were kind of chit-chatting on the sideline. And they were like, "Hey," and they were just talking. And then Tomlin was like, "I hate to have to get a guy like you." By saying something like, he's saying that you would have to go 2 and something to get a talent like Chase Young, because Chase Young was picked number 2 overall in his draft class. And Tom was saying, "Man, if I have to get a guy like you, then that means that we got to go 2 and something, or we got to." And I'm paraphrasing what he said in the quote, but basically he was saying, "I don't want to have to tank, to be able to get a guy like you," because he's saying, usually everyone knows that top draft picks go to the worst teams, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are not usually one of those guys. So for the San Francisco 49ers to get a guy like Chase Young and put him alongside of a college teammate in Nicholas John Bosa, I feel like kind of galvanized this defensive line. And I mean, what can I say? The Niners are back. We're back. It's okay. We took a little 3-week hiatus, and scary as that was, I guess we can kind of just intertwine this into the game on Saturday, and just a lot of things kind of had to happen, I guess. Just needed a breath of fresh air. Wilkes had to come out of the booth. We just needed just a week off.
Well, hold on. But before we move on, I have to ask you guys. So a lot of Niner fans aren't really understanding the whole nuance of this trade. You guys are football heads, so you guys understand. You have to pay Chase Young.
Yes.
So do you realistically, I know you guys are big fans, do you realistically think that you guys can find a way to re-sign him? Or is it just a rental?
Now, hold on. There are some things. It's going to come down to an either or. Do you re-sign Chase Young, or do you re-sign Brandon Ayuk? And that's what it's going to have to come down to. And man, as much as I love Brandon Ayuk and how much of a go-to target that he is for Brock Purdy, I'd like to say, Brandon Ayuk did have 55 yards, 3 receptions, and a touchdown.
On the way to 1K.
On the way to 1K, he is, and Kev's gonna have to cough with that bread.
That's still a lot of time left.
As much as I love Brandon Ayuk, there aren't many Chase Youngs out there in the world, and I guess I know that you two can definitely attest to that from seeing him play those couple of years at Ohio State and how talented that he actually is, because him and Bosa were alongside each other, and they're basically saying, hey, it's a race to the quarterback. We're going to be at the quarterback. And we saw that this past weekend. And I don't know, man. That's literally what it's going to come down to, because Brandon Ayuk has kind of been, hinting that he wants a new deal, and rightfully so. He's going to be a guy that's going to demand. You saw a guy like Christian Kirk get, $20 million a year? Ayuk's going to be like, I'm definitely going to be, that's kind of going to be the starting price. And we're starting to, we're paying George Kittle. We're paying Fred Warner. We're paying Deebo Samuel, who just got a new contract. And we just signed Nick Bosa to a new deal. So it's just going to start adding up. And then, Brock Purdy is on his rookie deal right now. So it's like, all right, who's these two guys are on the 5th-year option. Kinlaw is a guy that we didn't really pick up on his 5th year. It's kind of like we're going to play it out. He was basically the other rookie that was going to be on the last year of his contract. And so Brandon Ayuk is definitely going to be getting paid. I think what I want to happen is the perfect world. We sign both of these guys. We push the money back and just, we figure out a way for it to make it happen. But obviously that's not how it's going to work. What I think is probably going to happen is we do a sign and trade with somebody, and we end up trading Brandon Ayuk, as much as that pains for me to say. Or Chase Young is just way too much out of our price range. We don't get a chance to sign Chase Young, and as Kevin is saying, it's going to be a rental for us. And then we do end up re-signing Brandon Ayuk. Those are the only two things that I end up seeing. But it really just depends on how he's going to freaking do well, because our D-line is insane.
That's another thing. He's going to do really well, so he's going to want top dollar.
His numbers, he already has more sacks than Nick Bosa. So he just
got 6 sacks on the year.
Yeah, he has a half a sack this past weekend. Bosa, he said there was a little mic'd up version of them two to kind of going at. He's like, just like college, you took my sack or something like that. So his numbers are going to be like, all right, like I'm pretty much worth this much. So what I think is going to happen is the Niners are going to try to re-sign Chase Young and kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say let Brandon Ayuk walk. I feel like they'll try and work a sign and trade. And I think the Niners can definitely get a first-round pick for Brandon Ayuk.
Damn,
well, I love it. Yeah, it would be tough for sure, but I absolutely love this trade.
You can find Ayuk's into the draft, like late first round.
He was a second-round pick?
No, he was a first-round pick.
Number 25.
A la Jordan Addison, he's that type of guy that you could find in the draft, versus Chase Young's don't come around very.
Like Mike said, that's top 5.
So
top 2.
It's going to be, that's what I think is going to happen. But Chase Young might outperform us, and we'll just be like, damn, like he's doing so well, like we're not going to be able to re-sign him because we signed Nick Bosa to that similar type of contract. I don't think he's going to get Nick Bosa money, but I think he's going to want that TJ Watt, clowny-ish, Myles Garrett in that range. That's kind of what he's going to try and compare himself to. But kind of going to the game a little bit. I know we're kind of talking about Chase Young and all that. But,
can I say something real quick about Chase Young before we move on from him? Is I just wanted to say that I love this deal not only as a Buckeyes and 49ers fan. Like, this gave me deja vu to when the 49ers acquired Christian McCaffrey, as it's well documented on this podcast. Other than the college I actually graduated from, I tend to support Stanford and Ohio State. And when the 49ers acquired Christian McCaffrey, it felt like it was a dream. It felt like I was waking up on Christmas morning. That's how it felt when the 49ers acquired Chase Young. And the key word that I want to emphasize on the ticker right now is it says San Francisco acquired Chase Young for compensatory 3rd-round pick at the trade deadline. Compensatory pick is a pick that they get for free because they had a coach leave. So because the 49ers have had so much success with coordinators and even lower level assistants leaving in recent years, whether it be Mike McDaniels, D'Amico Ryans, and then also the lower level assistants that have left with both of them, the 49ers have gotten free draft picks, which they have now turned into Chase Young. And so to answer your question, Kevin, even worst case scenario, if Chase Young is just a rental, you traded a draft pick that you got for free for him. And so I'll take a rental throughout the rest of the season, even if that's the worst case scenario. I do think that Toddy kind of hit the nail on the head that they got to probably decide between Brandon Ayuk and Chase Young. But I will say the only caveat, and maybe this is just me being optimistic, but I think that there's a chance that Chase Young could just say, you know what, I love playing on this team. I love being back with Nick Bosa, being surrounded by all this great talent, and I'll take a pay cut so I can remain in this organization with this culture, in a winning culture, because that's one of the first things that Chase Young said about the difference is it's great to be surrounded by winners. And so it'll be interesting, but I absolutely love this Chase Young trade for the 49ers.
I thought you were going to say Trey Sermon.
Toddy, can you tell the listeners who represents Chase Young?
Who represents, like, as far
as... what agency does he come with?
They're Clutch.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they don't take pay cuts in Clutch.
All roads lead back to LeBron.
They don't take pay cuts.
Yeah.
You know, that is a good point. And so, Toddy, let's hear about your thoughts on the game as the 49ers beat the Jaguars 34-3.
Well, so the Jags kind of coming into this game, they were on a 3-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they were on a 5-game
win streak. So they were hot. This was a team that a lot of people were saying, oh, the Jags, they could damn near compete for the number 1 seed in the AFC. All roads could lead to Jacksonville. You know, Kev is, the Jags fans, they all kind of, rally around him. Niners took a trip to Duval, and it was
Duval.
It was a business trip. Nothing less to say, as De'Aaron Fox just hits a 3-ball. I think this was just a get back game for the Niners, and for the Niners to kind of come out and just, you just saw everything was kind of clicking. Purdy's hitting, Ayuk over the middle. You're seeing Debo getting involved early. Christian McCaffrey's running all over the place, who did not score a touchdown, by the way. And the streak ends at 18 games. And if you would have rolled your money over 18 weeks in a row, you would have $0 in your account. The stat that I saw, you got to know I like to gamble. So I think it stopped, the highest it was at was $1.5, $1.8 million. If you just would have cashed out the week before, or the week before the bye week, basically. If you just would have bet Christian McCaffrey touchdown every single week, that his streak kind of started, you would have that much. But basically, kind of going back to the game, is I thought Purdy looked very poised in the pocket. He ran around a little bit and made a lot of plays. I thought Kyle schemed a perfect game for him. He made a whole bunch of plays. I feel like the throw to Kittle was probably his best throw of the game, kind of under pressure, duress. And a really insane throw that he had was the Ayuk touchdown, where he kind of, if you guys watch Baldy's breakdown on Twitter, Brian Baldlinger on Twitter, he basically broke down that play, the touchdown pass to Ayuk, where he gets on a play action boot and Kittle's literally right across his face, wide ass open, and he's like, nah. He waves them off and throws them to the opposite side of the field to Ayuk, where Ayuk was in double coverage, and he still made a super accurate throw. So I thought Purdy was, he was on, and when Purdy's on, the Niners going to be a tough team to beat. And we saw this Jacksonville team, put up points. I think Jacksonville was one of the league leaders in takeaways as far as
number one team
in takeaways. So for the Niners to put up 31 points on them, or 34 points on them, and not have any turnovers, as that was kind of the common denominator for these past 3 losses, is Brock Purdy's been a guy that's turning the ball over, this, that, and the third. And for him to not having turnovers was great. And, we saw George Kittle kind of go insane with 3 catches for 116 yards. It's crazy. And Debo's back there. When the Niners are healthy, they're a tough team to beat. Now, I know that health was part of it. But another thing was that the defense wasn't really able to get stops and generate stops, and they only let up 3 points. I think a lot of that had to do with Steve Wilkes coming from out of the booth onto the field. And, just excited for this team, and, we're on to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, unfortunately, Christian McCaffrey's touchdown streak does come to an end at 17. He's unable to break the record and get 18. Now he remains tied with Lenny Moore for the longest consecutive touchdown streak in NFL history. And he went 350 days without a game that he had 0 touchdowns, which is remarkable in itself. And so 49ers absolutely dominate Jacksonville. But Kevin, from an outsider's perspective, what did you think? I mean, was this expected just given the bye week, the 3-game losing streak, acquiring Chase Young? It just seemed like all the elements kind of came together for a perfect storm for the 49ers. Is that correct from the outsider's perspective?
Oh, definitely. You guys, you had all the noise coming into the trade deadline. You made the noise. Toddy brought to the group chat that the Eagles and Niners were at a head-to-head race for Pat Surtain. So the Niners were definitely busy at the trade deadline, and they mentioned that both teams were just worried the other one was going to get them. So that's why they entered the race. So the Niners were definitely making a lot of noise at the trade deadline, like we've been talking about. Chase Young, he's came in there and he made an impact from day one. The things that I'm going to talk about are just strictly Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence and this team had a chance. 13-3. Toddy mentioned the first touchdown. Purdy's rolling left, throws across his body, grazes the Jaguars' fingertips. I'm like, all right, you know what? They're going to go down and score. They don't score. You guys go down there and kick a field goal. All right. They have to do something or this game is going to get out of hand. Boom. Christian Kirk bomb. All right. We're back in action. We're going to go right back to him. Fumble. And when it happened, I'm watching. I'm like, no one fucking touched him. Is he going to get up? And I'm like, oh, shit, he got him. And he just runs down the sideline. And that was just, the hopes and dreams of the Jacksonville Jaguars running down that sideline.
Got called for, they were running on the field.
Bro, they were on the field. I was like, bro, I was hoping they called it back. But that was nuts. And then another big play, when you have a nickel corner guarding George Kittle on a wheel run, and all those corner sees is 85. Oh, my goodness. When I saw the highlight, I thought I missed the play, so I thought it was just burnt coverage. And then I saw the replay, and I was like, damn. All he saw was 85 and saw the Goldilocks. He danced on him all the way into the end zone. But Trevor Lawrence, man, this Jaguars team has been really good on the road. Their 5 of 6 wins have come on the road. So for them to really be kind of shaky at home was an issue of mine going into the game, but I thought both teams coming off the bye, I thought Dougie Peterson was going to have this team ready. And that just did not happen. We came in here week in, week out talking about Travis Etienne, and he was non-existent this game. And every time the Niners got pressure, Trevor Lawrence thought he was in a ballet class. And he just kept spinning just into more sacks and more problems. He had 2 fumbles on top of the 2 picks, I believe. But to wrap up this long monologue, I had Niner fans in my DMs. I had to put out a missing persons report for all my Niner fans because I haven't heard them from weeks. And all my DMs say, we can't wait for week 13. So I'm happy to see you guys are back in action. I missed you guys.
Damn, week 13 is about to be here pretty soon. Well, this
2
was
weeks.
Week 10.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's felt like it's never going to come, and now it's suddenly coming up pretty quickly. And Kevin, just know, I know that a lot of the casual 49ers fans were reemerging, but you know us too. We've been here the whole time. We haven't been happy, but we've been here the whole time. And the whole time that the Niners were going through their streak, I was trying to remain optimistic, but I just kept thinking to myself, they're missing 2 of their best players. Like, that's got to have an effect on the team. And we just kept talking about that. And then, obviously, adding a Chase Young, it can be a game changer. And I think that the 49ers just needed to put things together, and Brock needed to stop.
Philly?
Things.
San Francisco. Oh, geez. I thought you were asking me a question, and you were making a statement. I envisioned a question mark at the end of that sentence.
I just wanted to see if his thoughts would have changed. I was right. Kevin would have never changed his mind about that.
Never. What? I was saying, I remember weeks back on, I was saying that Tiger put me in the group chat like, can y'all believe this? Kevin lost his mind. 10 weeks into the season, man, it just shows what it do, man. So.
Okay, well, we've only seen 1 game with Chase Young on the 49ers, so maybe we'll wait till week 13, and then after week 13, we'll ask you that same question.
I don't know, man. We saw Javon Hargrave signing, so that means we're not going to get another defensive performance out of you guys for what, 4 or 5 weeks?
We'll see.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So 49ers absolutely handle business. They are officially back, and all of us 49ers fans are very happy about that. So now moving on to the next game that we're going to get into. The Eagles had a bye week, so we're going to talk about the Eagles a little bit later and the game that they're going to have coming up this next week. But as far as games that happened yesterday, the next one we're getting to is an AFC battle as the Texans went to Cincinnati and they defeated the Bengals 30-27. CJ Stroud, Kevin. CJ motherfucking Stroud is putting some respect. Man, he's putting respect on Ohio State quarterbacks' names because the rest before him, not great in the NFL. But CJ,
this was the battle of Ohio State quarterbacks. Don't get it confused. Don't let Toddy get into our head. This was the battle of the Ohio State quarterbacks.
But Toddy said that we can't claim Joe Burrow as you hear him smack his
lips.
lips.
There in the world, and him in that scarlet red, it's all that matters.
Joe Burrow said he don't claim y'all.
That's fine. We claim him.
Hey, Joe Burrow said he went to school at Ohio State. He just happened to play football at LSU, and that is factual because he didn't see the field when he was at Ohio State, at least in
Who saw the field in
minutes.
front of him again? Can you refresh my memory?
Yeah, I'm not.
Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins. R.I.P.
Gotcha.
Wasn't he behind Barrett for a year?
Yeah, I thought it was JT Barrett.
Might have been behind JT Barrett.
I think it might have been JT then Dwayne. And I think once he lost the tournament, the competition to Dwayne, he left. Which is kind of crazy to think.
Who was the dude that took y'all to the playoff? What was the name?
Cardale Jones.
Cardale. Yeah, that was Cardale.
Yeah, 12 gauge. But anyways, the Texans, they beat the Bengals 30-27. And in this game, CJ Stroud, obviously an Ohio State alumnus, he puts up the OH at the game in front of the Ohio fans there in Cincinnati. And I just thought it was so great. And Tyler Boyd, he drops a touchdown catch that probably could have won the Bengals this game late. So anyways, Kevin, I'm going to toss it to you first. What do you think about CJ Stroud and the Texans beating the Bengals 30-27? Also, without their top receiver, like the fact that they were able to do it without his starting running back and Pierce, doing it without their top receiver and Dell. Like, what did you think about all that?
Well, the receiver that didn't play was Nico Collins. So Nico Collins.
Nico Collins. Thank you.
So yeah, Coleridge Bernard, man. If you've been tuning in and week out, you've heard me call him Coleridge Bernard because that's who he is. He's the man, the myth, the legend. Arguably the best rookie quarterback season we've seen in ever since the NFL started. For him to go 23 of 39, 356 yards, averaging 10 yards per pass with one touchdown and a pick that came really late in the game. Like Shaun mentioned, they had guys out. They're not making excuses. This coaching staff, D'Amico Ryan is really bringing that energy. You're seeing it throughout the whole players. They believe, man. We're talking about the team with the number 2 pick. Talking about they believe. This time, any other team with the number 2 pick, they're talking about, all right, who's our next lottery pick? They're not playing. They don't have a first-round pick, so they're playing like it. Devin Singletary, for him to have 30 rush yards, 30 attempts for 150 yards is fucking nuts. They were running it down the Bengals' throat, which was crazy to see. But another Ohio State guy in Cleveland, Noah Brown, coming up and playing 7 receptions for 172 yards. He is doing his thing. This offense is playing well, and CJ Stroud is showing that. Arguably, he was the best quarterback prospect, and the Panthers made a mistake. But getting onto the Bengals' perspective, like Shaun mentioned, Tyler Boyd had the game in his hand. The Bengals they went backwards, in my opinion. We've seen for the past couple of weeks the Bengals have come out. They've been very dominant. They've been doing their thing. They didn't have T. Higgins this week, so I don't really know if that was a reason to play into it. Joe Mixon got going early, but Joe Burrow, he just, those 2 picks were just horrible, just drive killers in the red zone. So for him to turn that ball over and for him to go on the sideline and say, damn, like, I hope CJ gives me the ball back. And for CJ to throw that late pick, for them to go, and then they couldn't capitalize on the touchdown, so they had to settle for 3. And then it all turned around because CJ Stroud went down the field. He is walking the dog. 2-minute drill. He's going to walk that dog wherever he got to go, and he's going to make sure his team gets in the end zone. Tank Dell, a lot of people thought he wasn't going to be a big deal. We talked about the weapons before, that CJ Stroud wasn't going to have any weapons. We talked about Nico Collins. We talked about Noah Brown. We talked about Shaun's guy, Dalton Schultz. Tank Dell, this receiver core is legit. Now they're having a dual backfield with Pierce and Singletary. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Texans pull it out. And, there's been a lot of MVP talk around my man CJ. So I'm happy to hear it, man. Representing for Ohio State. I know you guys see all the TikToks when it's the little ballet reception and it's just all the sad ones. And at the very end, it's CJ Stroud. And, it's looking good. And I know Tiny's going to hate me for saying this, but Marvin Harrison might be playing Kyle McCord to a draft pick.
Toddy, what did you think about the Texans beating the Bengals?
Okay, well, everything that Kevin said up until like the last sentence that he just said when he brought up Kyle McCord and CJ Stroud in the same sentence, they're not even the same universe. Let's get that out the way. CJ Stroud,
not yet.
They never will be. They never will be. Ever in whatever life that you want to live, over and over, they'll never be in the same.
Hey, Toddy, quick question: who do you hate more, Kyle McCord or Ian Book? Yeah,
that's probably be Ian Book. He's just not.
Toddy hates Ian Book. He doesn't like the guy from Oak Ridge. Anyways, all right. So continue, Toddy. Go ahead.
I mean, CJ Stroud, I've been on record that I've said my first ever bet was on CJ Stroud. And this was a guy who I followed in high school. Finding out later on that he ended up playing in Snoop Dogg's Pop Warner League. And he's from out that way. So he's been a guy that I've already been on my radar, and I knew that he was going to be a baller one way or another. Now, comparing him to other people, guys like Khalil Austin, will say that I was a non-believer in CJ.
Shout out to Khalil.
And
saw him at your baby I saw him this weekend too.
He brings up screenshots, and I've always told him that he needs to come back on the show, and I'll have Shaun post screenshots of me saying CJ Stroud's not good. This, that, I was comparing them to like other. There's more context that comes to it when comparing.
I'm just gonna sip on my water.
Caleb Williams,
speed hater.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But just going back to the game itself, I mean, CJ has had game-winning drives in like past games, but his defense usually lets him down. And so in this case, CJ had the ball last, and they ended up driving down the field, and they ended up winning the game. And, some luck was involved. Tyler Boyd did have the game in his hands, yes, but ultimately I feel like Kev was saying that this receiving core is legit. I wouldn't say it's okay. I feel like it could be a lot better than it would, but CJ's making it look like.
I'm about to say CJ's making them look legit.
Making them look legit. So, I think the Texans are ecstatic that CJ fell to 2, and he maybe even if Houston would have had the number 1 pick, maybe he goes number 1 overall still. And the Panthers are kind of gritting their teeth a little bit, like, man, did we make the right decision? But at the same time, Bryce is just in a fucked up situation over there. And I feel like a lot of this does have to do with the rock star head coach and D'Amico Ryans, who, Shaun and I have gotten a close-up view for the past couple of years. And we knew from the jump that we had multiple head coaches on our team, and just it was only a matter of time that D'Amico Ryans was going to get a head coaching position. So for CJ to kind of go out there and just absolutely ball week in and week out, it's starting to show that this could be a match made in heaven, and this could be the duo that we see for years to come in Houston. And, CJ's and D'Amico are changing the culture in Houston because, for the longest, they were a losing franchise. Yeah, they had the Deshaun Watson era, but pretty much after, a couple of years, that kind of went down. There's been a dark cloud over that franchise ever since, Deshaun Watson left. So for CJ to kind of come in and kind of change the culture and bring back that, winning mentality that they once had, it's refreshing to see. And this is a team that they're 5-4 right now. Can they win the AFC South? I think that answer is definitely yes.
Yeah, they already won in Jacksonville.
They already have a win over in Jacksonville. And so it's just, I feel like the thing that will be holding this team back is the defense, because the defense just tends to not be able to stop anybody. And I feel like if you give Coleridge that, if they give him that advantage to be like, hey, we can get a stop on defense, at least get situational stops to where I don't want CJ to have to go out there and get into shootouts all the time. Maybe just go out there, get these situational stops, and be able to win games, early on and to kind of have them be comfortable in a sense. But I don't think that this defense is there yet. And we know that D'Amico Ryans is a defensive head coach. So I feel like the defense is a couple of years away, and we would have thought that the defense would be kind of on point with D'Amico Ryans being the head coach. But it's kind of the opposite. The offense is on point, and now the defense kind of has to catch up and even itself out for this team to be really balanced. So this team is relying on a rookie quarterback to kind of go out there and win games. And he's been out there showing and proving everybody that he's able to do it. And like Kevin was saying, people would put him in the MVP conversation, which is crazy for the last rookie player to win the MVP was Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
So,
man, I thought that was about to be Toddy's pop quiz. I was about to nail it. Kevin, you're muted.
Do you know the last rookie to get a vote since Jim Brown?
I have no idea.
Ooh.
Is Andrew Luck?
No, that's a better question. Go ahead. Who is it?
Dan Marino.
Oh.
Dan Marino. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Good company.
Very good company. And the Texans are honestly quickly becoming sneakily my favorite AFC team.
They play Arizona this week, so that's going to be a good game to watch.
Yeah, like I used to say that the Broncos were my favorite AFC team just because I have family who live in Colorado and are Broncos fans. But I mean, ever since Russ has gotten there, like tonight might be the highlight of his entire tenure there, getting a win on Monday Night Football against the Bills. And so it's kind of hard to root for a stinky team that's not even your actual team. And so I'm kind of at the point where I'm hopping on the Texans bandwagon. Toddy knows that I was on the Bills bandwagon for several years. And now I think I might be on the Texans bandwagon because I guess at this point, no one's going to circle the wagons like the Houston Texans. So I love seeing it. I love seeing D'Amico thrive as well as CJ. And as I said earlier to Kevin, CJ's putting respect on the lineage of Ohio State quarterbacks that have been slandered for years. And even though Kevin is no longer the president of the Justin Fields fan club, Justin still needs to get healthy. But I am now the proud president of the Justin Fields fan club.
Oh, you gave it to Shaun.
Yeah, man, I had to step down, bro. I had seen enough after 3 games.
I took over, and I'm still hopeful that Justin will join CJ in the club of serviceable NFL quarterbacks from Ohio State. CJ's obviously much more than that at this point, but we shall see. I just love to see it. And now getting to another team that plays in Ohio, except this team actually won, that team being the Cleveland Browns, led by the nasty man, Deshaun Watson, who used to play for those Houston Texans. As the Browns, they beat the Ravens 33-31. So, Toddy, I'm going to toss it back to you on this one. What did you think about this game? Was it more so about what the Browns did or what the Ravens didn't?
Well, I think Lamar had 2 really bad turnovers at the end, one of them being a pick six,
man. Yeah.
A lot of people are going to say, the Browns fans, I'm here. I'm the Patrick meme when he's in the Coliseum and his hands are stuck to the chains. I'm still standing on that hill. That I don't think Deshaun Watson's that good. Now, I think in the second half he went like 13 for 13 or something like that. But he threw for 213 yards. He had a touchdown, a pick. His QBR was like 74. So he played okay. I feel like it's the defense. The defense got 2 really timely turnovers. And they were down by 2 touchdowns, I think, going into the fourth quarter. And so it's like, okay, you're up 31-17. And I felt like the running back for what's his name? Mitchell. Mitchell had a pretty solid game. And I thought that if they just would have ran him the ball a little bit more, kind of dwindle out the clock a little bit, and that it was Lamar, you can't throw picks. We saw when Brock Purdy was throwing picks, as Shaun has the pick, the Patrick B, it pops up. We saw when Brock Purdy, as Niner fans, these past couple of weeks, throw multiple interceptions and what it does to the team and kind of how it hinders your team from winning games. And we saw when Lamar Jackson has 2 timely interceptions, throw those picks in the fourth, your team's not going to win. So, I mean, Deshaun Watson had the timely touchdown at the end, and They even missed the extra point they were still they're still down 1, and Lamar kind of gave them the ball back, and they ended up scoring. So I feel like this Cleveland defense is the best defense in the league, probably. And they're 6-3 now. So this was a division that I wanted to put every single team into the playoffs. But I was like, when is the last time we've seen each team in one division in one division period get all 4 teams into the playoffs?
Have you seen that before?
I don't think so. Sean probably looked that up for us. But each team is like 6-3, 5-4. I think is what everybody is right now. So I know Gary's happy because he thinks that they're gonna probably win the division. They got a chance. So this division usually does beat up on each other, but outside of the division, they kind of just destroy everybody else. So the Browns are cooking with grease, and they feel like that they're probably the best team in the AFC right now.
Toddy, excuse me, not Toddy, but Kevin, I wanted to ask, do you think that Garry legitimately has a shot for his Steelers to win this division, or is it going to be between the Ravens and – because everyone kind of tends to think it's going to be between the Ravens and the Bengals. Now the Browns. The Browns have now gotten wins against both the Ravens and the Bengals, haven't they? Didn't they beat the Bengals earlier this year? And they barely lost to the Steelers on Monday Night Football. And so where are you leaning at this point, Kevin, when it comes to the AFC North?
Definitely not that the Steelers are going to take it all. That's definitely not where I'm leaning. I know Gary's a homer, and I know when he hears his back to the timestamps, he's not going to be too happy. But
JV defense.
If the JV defense and the varsity run game, that's all they got. They got a defense and a run game. So I don't know if that's going to be able to take them the distance. But, like Tony mentioned, we could see the first time ever, if I'm not mistaken, that 4 teams from the same division make playoffs. But the things I really want to cover from this game is the Ravens. Like Toddy mentioned, they had 2 really, really bad turnovers at the end of Lamar Jackson. But something deeper into that, Rashad Bateman has let this team down in his career. 80 catches, 1,005 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's been injured a lot. Yes. No, for his career. So he's played 27 games in 3 years. In year 1, 12 games, 46 catches, 515 yards, 11 yards per catch. Year 2, 6 games, 15 catches, 285, 19 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. Year 3, 205 yards, 10 yards per catch, 19 catches. Let me tell you some of the receivers taken after him. We have Elijah Moore on his 3 seasons, 114 catches, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. Josh Palmer for the Chargers, 128 catches, 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns. Our guy, Nico Collins, 106 yards, 1,600 yards, 7 touchdowns. And the biggest one of them all, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 261 catches, 2,900 yards, and 16 touchdowns. When you compare him to the guys drafted after him, you really have to think like, damn, did the Ravens miss? We're seeing the emergence of Zay Flowers. We've seen what Odell can do, every now and then. Mark Andrews has always been consistent, but we've seen Lamar grow, but he could have taken another step if he would have been able to get another one of those guys. When you compare him to the guys that were drafted before him with the Jalen Waddles, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, these are all wide receiver 1s. And Rashad Bateman is the farthest thing from wide receiver 1. So until they can really get this receiving core to show up day in and day out, I mean, we'll see a 13 Odell from the Giants play every now and then like we did. He had 1 catch for 45 yards and a touchdown, do his little TikTok dance. But this team is going to struggle because we see this running back room continuously change. There's no consistency. We're seeing Lamar contribute, but not enough as we would think he'd contribute. So you're relying on this run game. So if this run game can't get going, if they can't get the receivers going, it's all on Lamar. So he's going to have to step it up because his receivers have just not been showing up on a day in and day out basis. But for the Browns, Jerome Ford, RB1 for the future. I know they got Nick Chubb coming off ACL. They brought Kareem Hunt back. But Jerome Ford, 17 carries, 107 yards, 6.5 per carry. The Browns find a way to have a running back room full of gold somehow, some way.
And so I pulled up this meme earlier as Toddy was talking. This is the meme that Toddy referenced when he first started talking about saying that he still doesn't think Deshaun Watson is very good. This meme is basically how I just feel about Deshaun Watson in general after everything that happened. Like, people could say whatever they want to me about how positive they want to spin it when it comes to Deshaun Watson. This is going to be me just being like, oh, I don't care. I hate Deshaun Watson now. And it's sad because I used to love Deshaun Watson, but just totally flipped the script on that one. And also this meme also perfectly describes how I feel about Tyreek Hill. I also feel this way about Tyreek Hill and also things that he's had in his past. Other professional athletes I could talk about, but I'd be wasting my breath. But I feel strongly about Deshaun Watson at this point. So I'm going to continue to root against him. I guess I'm just going to be player hater of the year, but that's just how things go sometimes. Anyways, the Browns, they get the win. So congrats to the Browns at least. Kevin, when we didn't have a podcast last week, you didn't get the opportunity to talk about how the Eagles defeated the Cowboys. And we're not going to get into that because it's been plenty of time and Cowboys fans have made enough excuses since then. But the thing I wanted to get into when it comes to the Eagles, since they had a bye week this week, is their next game, which will be on Monday Night Football in Kansas City against Taylor Swift's Kansas City Chiefs. Woo! As the 8-1 Eagles play at the Chiefs, who are 7-2 on Monday Night Football. 1 week from today, we will all be speaking to you right after this game ends. So, Kevin, before we get into our speedy Week 10 NFL recap, I wanted to get your early thoughts on this enticing matchup.
It's going to be a gladiator match.
You know, when Shaun asked me before the Super Bowl for my score prediction, I said 36-14 Eagles. Shaun, ask me my prediction for Monday's game.
36-14.
What's your prediction
motherfucking bloodbath. This is the only game I had circled on my fucking schedule. I was hoping Juju was around to see it, but he didn't make it. You know, they shipped him off to New England.
I forgot Juju played football still.
Right? But this Eagles team is playing the way we need them to play at this season, and we're only getting better at this point. We saw our third round pick, Tyler's team, go out there and carry his own against the best in the league against Michael Parsons. But we have Cam Jurgens coming back. When he was playing the first 4 games, we were number 1 in rush success, and we had 661 yards with him. When he was gone for 5 games, we were 16th in success rate with 416 yards. This team's getting healthy. Dallas Goedert hasn't been scratched out. He was recovering from a forearm injury. And so this offense is playing the way we need them to play. DeAndre Swift has shown that the Lions just, do us a lot. We got to get a great running back. A.J. Brown is playing phenomenal, arguably the best receiver in the world, and this defense has got to get better. I know we've been getting aired the fuck out by everybody we've come across, but it's got to get better. Kevin Byard's got to he had the bye week to really just dive into the playbook and just continue to build that formality with his teammates. We're getting Roby back. We're getting healthy. That's one of the biggest things. In the beginning of the season, we were healthy, and it just looked so much better. But when we got hurt, the next man up mentality really came to show, and this team is on a collision course back to the Eagles Invitational. So for all the Chief fans out here, it's going to be disrespectful on Monday. I promise you that, because you guys got away with one and the refs can't save you. I wish we would have played week 1 when they got the rings.
My brother Terry is a Chiefs fan. Would you guys want to have him on next week after the game so then Kevin can rub it in his face?
You might want to ask him if he wants to come on after.
Okay.
Kevin is very confident.
Would you guys be down to have a Chiefs fan on after next week's game?
I'm always down to talk my shit.
All right, yeah. Kevin's feeling uber confident and understandable given how the Eagles have been playing as of late. Ever since that Jets game, like that Jets game is the only blip on the radar for them. Really, since then they've been playing really good football. And Kevin, honestly, I look back at that Jets game for the Eagles almost as a positive because you could call me a hater or whatever, but I didn't like the way that the Eagles were playing through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And then they lose that game and it kind of woke them up. And now they've just been rolling, in my opinion. And
100%.
So it was for the best, I guess, because, and at least for you, your team only lost once. Our team lost 3 in a row. So there's that. And I'm highly looking forward to this game between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Toddy, did you have anything you wanted to add before we got to the Week 10 NFL recap?
Can we get some picks or what? You make me wait till Sunday?
I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this one. Yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs. I'm going with my homie.
It's Chiefs are -2.5. The
At home,
over
that's
is
kind of crazy.
4.5. I mean, it's the Eagles, so I mean, I get it.
I thought it was been 3. That's usually the typical.
I think the Chiefs defense have been playing pretty solid these past couple of weeks. I think the best defense so far the Eagles has played is probably the Jets defense. I don't know, man. This game it's very tough to beat. I kind of gotta sit on it a little bit. It's gonna be a great game. I think the over actually might hit in this game at 45.5. Even though the primetime unders have been kind of the heater, kind of took a ding this couple hours, like about an hour ago, with that game-winning field goal. But I mean, Jalen Hurts in KC. Has he ever played in KC before? Have you guys? No, I don't think so. So I don't think anybody can guard AJ Brown. I don't think anybody can guard Travis Kelce. I don't know, man. This game is I can't, because both teams are really good against the spread too. So this is just a tough game to pick. I really don't know who's going to win.
Come on, Toddy, make a pick. Come on.
I'll probably just take the over. I'm not gonna pick anybody.
The jig is up, man. The Chiefs are. We've seen the blueprint. You know, we saw the Jets, not the Jets. We saw the Jets gave them a problem. We saw the Lions go in there and beat them, and then who was their second loss to?
They just lost to
Broncos.
That's right.
So we've seen that this team gets exposed if you take Travis Kelce out of the game. The first game, he didn't play, obviously, so of course he wasn't a part of it. But the last time they lost, it was really just Travis Kelce centered. So if we take Travis Kelce out the way, come on, Tony. Let me see you do your little dance. Let me see you do something more. Let me see it. I need to see it because Travis Kelce is not going to be enough.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
My only thing is the game is in KC. They have the home field advantage. So,
brother, that game could have been played at Monterey Trail High School.
You could say that you guys limit Travis Kelce, but we've seen games where Travis Kelce will have like 4 catches for like 26 yards, but he scores 4 touchdowns. So we've seen that happen before. But
hey, man, Gannon ain't calling the defense this time.
It's true.
We're not going to get beat on a zig rat twice back to back. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, as we keep things moving here on episode number 61 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. Kings just won, as Toddy just mentioned, as the Kings defeat the Cavaliers 132-120. De'Aaron Fox is back at 28.6 assists, 2 rebounds. Glad to have the Fox back. As we move on now to our speedy Week 10 NFL recap, where we get to the rest of the games that happened in the NFL this past week. I'm going to kick things off and talk about the Sunday Night Football game because the Raiders defeated the Jets 16-12, and Antonio Pierce has now won back-to-back games to start his head coaching career, at least as an interim head coach, and he rolled into the game in style yesterday in a I don't even know what kind of car it was, but it was kind of old school lowrider car, which I thought was pretty cool. And anyways, this is significant. I wanted to talk about this at the beginning, and I want to get your guys' quick thoughts on this as well, is that this is the first episode that we've had since the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels after they lost on Monday Night Football to the Detroit Lions. And as I mentioned, Antonio Pierce, former linebackers coach, who is now the interim head coach, he has gotten back-to-back wins to start his head coaching tenure. So, Kevin, I want to get your thoughts on this first. What did you think about the Raiders finally, in my opinion, firing Josh McDaniels?
It was time. You know, I'm sure we all heard the story. Like we mentioned, we missed a week, so I'm sure we all heard the interviews and all the talking heads talking about the anonymous or the infamous meeting room where all the players kind of aired them out. And the interim coach, I can't forget his name, it skipped my mind. He stepped up for him and really tried to back him up. And then they kind of had their beefing out to it. So it's finally nice to see that the Raiders have a new sense of joy. You know, you put all that money into the stadium, you move your team, you're supposed to be excited. And now they're finally get to be exciting. It's interesting. Thinking back on it, our very first factor cap is Jimmy Garoppolo, the worst quarterback in the AFC. He now has been benched. So that's kind of funny to look back at. You know, Alex O'Connell, I think it was a 4th-round pick, coming in and doing this thing. And, you know, keep forgetting the coach's name, but after the game, he said, Antonio Pierce. He said, I know who to get the damn ball to. Josh Jacobs, and Devontae Adams. We finally saw, for all of you fantasy owners of Josh Jacobs, he's back. I know everyone's been on about a slow start. He missed all of training camp. He was doing his holdout, so he wanted his money, so they gave him his contract. So I feel like from here on out, he's going to get into what his bag that he was last year when he led the league in rushing. And Devontae Adams is only getting better. So this team is really going to be something to see. But for all the Jets fans out there, for you guys to just, if you're a Jets fan and you claim that it's just the quarterback, you don't really watch football. Zach Wilson isn't Aaron Rodgers, but he's not playing like shit. 23 of 39, 263 yards and 1 interception. They had multiple drive-ending penalties. They couldn't get a stop. So it's really lazy to just blame the quarterback. But actually, because I watched that whole game, because like I mentioned, I had Josh Jacobs and Garrett Wilson in fantasy, but it was just hard to watch. But I'm excited that the Raiders got rid of Josh McDaniels and the future that they hold with Antonio Pierce. I hope they keep him, unlike they did the last interim coach.
Toddy, after Josh McDaniels was fired, McDumbass was trending on X. So that basically sums it up, in my opinion. But what did you think about the move?
I just think these players, they rally around Antonio Pierce, a former player who was on the Giant, I think it was the 2007 Giants team that
Super Bowl champ.
The New England Patriots. And, I saw that Jay Glazer kind of reported, because this was a couple weeks back, basically the conversation that Kev was talking about, Antonio Pierce was talking about the Giants and, kind of the season that they had, and they ended up taking down the Patriots. And then he was trying to back up Josh McDaniels, but Josh McDaniels was like, don't ever talk about the Patriots like that. He was like, what? And so that kind of just rubbed, pretty much the whole entire locker room the wrong way. Mark Davis the wrong way. And, ultimately Mark Davis went with the guy that believed in the locker room and believed in the team and, basically made the coaching change, ended up firing McDumbass, as Shaun quoted him. But I just think this team is just, under, just new life, new raps. And we saw, Max Crosby smoking in the locker room. People were saying it was cigars. That was not a cigar. The last night when they were smoking, those were cigars that they were actually smoking on. He was smoking on something else, but
AKA a backwood.
Yeah, we saw
literally that shit was nuts. I thought it was fake when I saw it on my timeline.
I thought it was hilarious. I couldn't believe
no
it.
fucks given.
But it's funny though, Shaun. Before I sorry to interrupt you, Toddy. Do you think he would have done that on a national broadcast? I think he only did that because it's local Raider analysts. If it would have been like a not saying that's not a big deal, but if that would have been an ESPN, I don't think he does that. I think he only solely did that. You think so?
I think
you don't think they cut that shit off?
I don't think he does it if Josh McDaniels is the coach. But since Antonio Pierce is the coach and he's a player's guy, it's new everything.
But I understand cigars, but smoking a backwood.
He's a former player, so I feel like he doesn't really give a fuck. And he's
it's ESPN. Listen, this is a children's channel. Not you want to watch the Vegas Raiders post game.
So to answer the question, Kevin, I think it would happen because I've seen many interviews on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt specifically, where the players or coaches are a lot more laid back, a lot of the times in those celebratory modes. And I've seen I haven't seen joints, but I'm pretty sure I've seen some blunts here and there, and probably a couple woods as well. And so
I was mistaken. I thought that was the first time ever. That shit was crazy to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Go ahead, Todd.
No, I loved it. I just thought this team is just rallying around their head coach. And we even saw Devontae Adams. He was dancing in the locker room. He was smiling, tongue all out like he was Jordan. Like this is a new man. Look what 2 wins in a row can do to a franchise. Now they do play Miami next week. We'll see if they come back to life a little bit. But the Raiders are 5-5. There are Raider fans out there that think that they can make the playoffs. And
your cousin, he said they would win the division.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that, but he could look like a fortune teller if they end up making the playoffs. So, this Raiders team is kind of just galvanizing around Antonio Pierce. I feel like he's a leader of men, and he's basically doing what we're all screaming at the couch: get Devontae Adams the ball and hand the ball up to Josh Jacobs. Like, it's not rocket science. ladies and gentlemen. This is a guy in Josh Jacobs who led the league in rushing last year. Let's figure out a way to get him involved in the offense. Davante Adams is arguably the best receiver in the league. Let's figure out a way to get him the ball. And Jimmy Garoppolo, week in, week out, has proven that he can't get him the ball. And they, for some weird reason, when Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play, I think because he was injured, they played Brian Hoyer, and that made zero sense. So for Pierce to have the wherewithal to actually, know your personnel, as Coach Fred told me and Kev when we used to always play, you have to know your personnel. And Antonio Pierce realized that, hey, Aiden O'Connell is our best quarterback on the roster. And he realizes that, hey, Davante Adams is the best player on on the field. Usually every time they steps on the field, he's like, hey, this guy that's, in the backfield and Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing. Let's figure out a way to get him the ball. So, I mean, I've said this in the group chat. I think Antonio Pierce is probably going to be able to, get a shot at becoming the head coach for this team if this team does not go balls to the wall to get Jim Harbaugh. They're not able to get him, then I feel like
Deion Sanders?
Deion's not going to the NFL. No, but he's already said that,
if they draft Shador?
Yeah, still not going. But and Shador's not getting drafted, so
not yet.
It's not good enough. It's just because Deion's like he doesn't have to get drafted. He's going to come back. So,
brother, I understand Deion said that, but if Caleb doesn't go, there's a legit argument for Shador being the second best quarterback. Are we going to say that next year? I know Deion says that, but if things play the way Caleb is, I don't think Caleb comes back. But if in the rare world that he does, I think that changes everything.
Shador Sanders will be coming back to Colorado next year. That's all I got to say.
Well, I think that this was a great move for the Raiders. And Toddy, you said it best on X in regard to Davante Adams when you said, did you guys forget that he's from the Bay Area? Like, of course he's dancing like that because he's from Palo Alto. He's from East Palo Alto. So it's like, let's not forget that Davante is from the Bay Area. And so I'm happy for the Raider fans. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm happy for the Raider fans just having hope again in their team. So congrats to them as now we get to the other games and the other teams from Week 10 in the NFL here on episode number 61 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin, Denton, Jaevon, Toddy. So, gentlemen, let's get to Thursday night football. And Kevin, I'm going to toss this one to you as the Bears. They defeated the Panthers 16-13. And because the Bears own the Panthers' first round pick for next season, they actually increased their odds to get the number one pick and potentially Caleb Williams next season.
Oh my God, that game was hard to watch. I thought Sunday Night Football was hard to watch. To watch Bryce Young and a no-name quarterback go out there and Bagent to go out there and outplay Bryce Young, it's just something you see in a Disney Channel movie. It's just something you wouldn't believe. And for him to now get his second win, and the narrative now is, should he start over Justin Fields healthy? He got the W's, but let's chill. It's the Panthers. We understand where the Panthers are. They traded their first round pick, so they're in shambles. We heard that they were big in the trade deadline trying to get a number one receiver, which is ironic because they traded away a number one wide receiver. So it's funny how that kind of worked out. But the Panthers are in a shitville. Toddy said Washington is where careers go to die. I think it's Carolina. We all thought that Frank Wright, since his Eagles days, was going to be a big shot caller. He's going to be an offensive coordinator, a head coach that was going to be offensive minded, and we haven't seen it. Miles Sanders has been disappointing, and it breaks my heart because I have two booby jerseys in my closet. I want to see him. He got his money, but like Shaun mentioned, being in a winning environment shows a lot. He wanted his money, so he went to the highest bidder, and now he is not playing for shit. So he lost position to Chuba Hubbard. So it's not looking good for Miles. But this offense is atrocious. This defense is atrocious. The offensive line is horrible. They're just, like Toddy mentioned, they're just not putting around the right pieces around Bryce Young. So I'm not ready to say Bryce Young's better than CJ Stroud because I know, like Toddy mentioned, it's all situational. He's just not in a good situation. Now, if the roles are reversed, Do I believe that CJ would have the Panthers this bad? I don't think so at all. But then again, I don't think the Texans would be as good. So, we'll compare it apples to apples here. But overall, the Panthers need to figure this shit out because Bryce Young is not going to last very long if he keeps getting hit like this.
Jaevon, another game played in Frankfurt, Germany, and another game where Mac Jones gets benched as the Colts beat the Patriots 10-6.
Yeah, I woke up at some contested this. I don't know why I woke up this early in the morning and I somehow bet this game for some weird reason. Bet the Colts -1. I just thought the Colts were better. I told myself I wasn't going to bet this game, but I was like, let's see what's going on in Germany. So, it's kind of just been the exclamation mark on the whole season pretty much is that Mac Jones is going to throw picks and lose this team several games just because he's just not good enough. For Bailey Zappi, it was just weird that Bill put Bailey Zappi in at the last drive of the game to go down and win. Zappi kind of drove him down to midfield. I think he got a penalty. I think he got a pass interference penalty that helped him push him to midfield. And then he does the fake spike and throws it into triple coverage. And that ultimately ended the game. But Mac Jones had a bad pick in the red zone that could have put them up. Well, I'd say the real winner of this team is the Colts defense because they didn't give up a touchdown. But Bill, they're asking Bill, is Mac Jones starter in the post game? He was like, it was just time for a change. We don't have.
We'll get to next week.
We'll get to next week. And so, Bill's always going to be Bill, and not really shocked by the score, I'd say, because these teams aren't really going for anything. But I did see that someone put like $220,000 on the under, and I know he slept like a baby that night.
R.I.P. Minshew Mania. That's my main takeaway from all of this. So for Garry, the Steelers, they beat the Packers 23-19. Also, shout out to our guy Khalil, who I saw at your baby shower on Saturday. And the Steelers, they are in it. I think they're actually in the playoff hunt right now. Yeah, it's 6-3. And I told Garry after we saw his team get annihilated in week 1,
they're in fifth place
to go but up. And so there you go. At 6-3, they're at 5th place in the AFC. So they're right there.
Third. Sorry.
Oh, tied for 3rd. So even better. And so they're right there in the thick of things in the AFC playoff race. And so Gary's getting very excited. I'm sure we'll hear more about it next week. But, the Steelers, they get another win. And somehow Mike Tomlin, he just refuses to lose. As Kevin, as we welcome you back in here, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Buccaneers defeating the Titans 20-6.
Damn, Toddy. I think we created a fan club too quick. We were quick to jump the gun. We were quick to jump the Will. We were quick to jump the Will Levis gun, and we everyone looks at the 4-touchdown game and they forget to realize who it was against. It was against the Falcons. We've seen this defense time after time just give up numbers after to everybody. Whoever's the quarterback, they're throwing for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns easy. We saw that. And then we saw what that offense could do with Will Levis. We saw that he was able to open the play action game. Derrick Henry was able to do his thing. And then, I don't know if the Bucs are they the best team in the NFC South? I know it's a crab bucket. It's not really, something to be proud of. But is Baker the future? We talked about Toddy's voice in that video, and he's like, Baker Mayfield. 18 of 29, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns to 1 pick. And a lot of you guys, if you pay attention to Factor Cap, I came with a Factor Cap if Mike Evans was going to get 1,000 yards this year, and he is playing out of his mind. 6 catches, 143 yards, 24 yards per catch, and a touchdown, not to mention that he dropped a touchdown. So that should have been 2 touchdowns. But this team is playing phenomenal right now. We're seeing the Saints kind of struggle right now. So it's kind of a crab bucket. But like I mentioned, I think we just might have been too early on the Will Levis train. You can't finish a game with Derrick Henry with 24 yards. You just can't.
So, Toddy, the Vikings, Wes's Vikings, By the way, Wes, come on, man. I've been on the Vikings bandwagon now for a couple weeks, and he said, "Attaboy, Garry," and I was like, "No love for me again this week. I picked the Vikings again." He's like, always love. Just had he was just happy that Garry got to his senses. The two of you still haven't got to your senses. As Toddy, the Vikings, they beat the Saints 27-19.
I'm picking the Vikings from here on out. Every game. I told Wes in the comments, every game I'm picking the Vikings. I'm a believer. I believe in the astronaut.
How about them Saints, though, Toddy?
I picked the Saints to win this game and the points.
So disappointed.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what to say. This Vikings.
What do you think of the astronaut?
I think the NASA man is ready for takeoff, and he's been playing his ass off, man. And I think the Vikings team, this team is in the playoff hunt right now. I mean, they got wins over us being the San Francisco 49ers. I think this team can make the playoffs, and in this NFC, like the Vikings can make the playoffs.
So that means you're saying the Vikings are going to make it over the Seahawks.
Over the Seahawks, because right now it's.
You think they both get in?
It's Eagles, Lions, Niners, Saints, because they're winning their division at 5-5. Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings.
Because the Cowboys are going to get a wild card too.
So the other teams that are like kind of fighting in that same little playoff realm, 7th spot, would be like Bucks, Commanders, Falcons, like those type of teams. And I think Vikings are better than those type of teams. So you can clip me now and say, yeah, I think Josh Jacobs gets this Vikings team to the playoffs. And then in this weak NFC. And I feel like this NFC is very top heavy. I think really the 3 teams, I would say, you could argue 4 being Dallas, but I think the 3 best teams are the Eagles, Niners, and the Lions, who are ahead of their division at 7-2. So, yeah, man, Josh Dobbs is on another level. The Saints are not good. They'll still probably make the playoffs because their division is so garbage, but I can't bet the Saints anymore, like, for the rest of the year. I'm sorry. It's a trap.
Kevin, I apologize for giving you this game, but someone has to take it. It was a stinker as the Cardinals get second win of the season and defeat the Falcons 25-23 in Kyler Murray's return.
It wasn't a bad game.
You know, man, when
it's a stinker of a matchup. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
No, you're good. When I was doing it, hold on, Blue's cheering over. You get to take the shot.
Yeah, I got you. So, Toddy, I mean, you didn't think it was much of a stinker. I was just happy to see Kyler Murray back to form.
No, yeah, I thought Kyler looked good. He's running around. I mean, he looked the same. Didn't look like he's coming off an ACL injury. So I feel like for him to kind of come back and kind of look like the exact same player that he did is probably good for him mentally, knowing that he can kind of go out there and still doing that crazy 3rd and 10 run where he had to run like 60 yards to gain 10 to kind of seal.
He's really good at that.
To kind of seal the game off was really intense. So I think who got hurt? Heineke ended up getting hurt in this game, so Ritter had to come in and I think he led like a game-winning drive. He kind of led them down the field before Kyler ended up getting the ball back and taking it down and ultimately winning the game. But I mean, his stats were pretty good in this game. Hollywood Brown got involved. We saw James Conner sighting. So it just when Kyler come back, it kind of just uplifted the entire team in general, and that's kind of why he was paid all that money. And, kind of see him going into the podium and he had a really bad pick in that game. And for him to go to the podium after the game and kind of just like own it and we didn't really see that from him, before he ended up getting the contract and getting paid. It was kind of, I wouldn't say he was pointing the finger at people. It was more just like he was, wasn't really taking as much accountability as him being the franchise guy. So, I mean, this Cardinals team, I'm going to be locked into the 2-8 Cardinals versus the 5-4 Texans and CJ Stroud. I don't know where that game is. I think it's in Arizona. It's definitely in Houston. So Houston's favored by 4 in that game. It's going to be a really good game. Shootout.
Yeah.
Probably.
It will be a really good game, and thank you for mentioning that James Conner was in this game as well as Kyler Murray not only returned from a torn ACL, but James Conner returned from a knee injury and
How
being on
convenient.
the IR earlier this season. Very convenient as the Cardinals get their second win of the season, as I mentioned earlier. Kevin, in a very exciting game, the Lions defeated the Chargers 41-38 in Los Angeles.
The Lions, man. We talked about them in the offseason. This team is the real deal. You know, we talked about it all offseason. We talked Toddy. I had to pull this up, man. We did is Jared Goff the best quarterback in the division, ladies and gentlemen? And Toddy said it was Jordan Love. Yes, you heard that right. The
I'm
Packers
not dying
quarterback,
on that hill.
Jordan Love. But we talked about him on St. Raw earlier in the show. He tied A.J. Brown with 6 games consecutive of 100 straight yards. The first wide receiver in Lions history since Calvin Johnson to put up 4 straight 100 yards games. Yeah. So for Sunday, for him to go out there for 165 yards, 8 catches and 1 touchdown, and that's just the pick of the iceberg. This running game is insane. This is arguably the best running back duo in the NFL. We saw David Montgomery return and make it seem like he didn't miss a beat. 116 yards with 1 touchdown, and then Jamar Gibbs. Everyone had the question on why they went running back, so early in the draft. You know, you can get one later in the draft, but Jamar Gibbs is showing there was a reason for that. Jameer Gibbs, excuse me. 2 touchdowns, 112 yards. Like I said, this has to be the best running back duo in the NFL. And this offensive line is a top 5 unit in the NFL. But who leads this ship? Who is the captain of the ship? It's Captain Jared. 2 touchdowns, 333 yards, 23 of 33 yards. And like Toddy mentioned, this is the second best team in the NFC, goddammit.
Okay. Hold the horses. Notice how
Chargers.
Toddy, notice how he just dropped the mic on that one.
That was the end of the clip.
Hey,
yeah, there you go. Exactly. There you go.
The Niners love playing against Jared Goff. They live.
He don't play for the Rams anymore, bro.
Okay, he doesn't play.
What have you done for me lately? You know that's how I am.
All right, yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Well, Toddy, in a game that was not entertaining at all, the Cowboys defeated the Giants 49-17 as Dak Prescott had himself a day. And between the 2 matchups between the NFC East rivals, the Cowboys outscored the Giants 89-17 after that 40-0 Week 1 win.
We them boys, baby. We back. Oh, man. Just, seeing Cowboy fans and just how excited that they are over beating Tommy DeVito. A guy who lives at home with his mother still.
That's
and
just crazy.
The third string quarterback. I mean, it was just, it's the Giants. Vegas was very high on the Cowboys. I think they were like 17.5-point favorites, which was insane to me. But I was just kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, that's not that crazy given the circumstances, because they beat the Giants by 40 in the first game. And they had Daniel Jones they had like their entire team, like everybody's ready and set to go. But this week they're playing Tommy DeVito, a third string quarterback, a guy who literally can't move the ball up and down the field. And so it's like, how are they going to score? They weren't. And, CeeDee Lamb's out there making one-handed catches. You're seeing Tony Pollard getting involved. You got Dak throwing for 400 some odd yards. And, the Cowboys, they're back, I guess. And so when you see them go up against, lesser teams, they usually beat up on
competition.
Yeah, when they play up against subpar competition, guys that really can't really make a name for themselves in this league, they usually beat up on them. And guess who they play next week? Carolina Panthers. So they're
talking about a cakewalk.
They need these cupcake games to kind of, boost up and fluff up that win-loss record. And that's kind of what they need to kind of, make themselves feel good. All power BT. So Cowboy fans, you're gonna go on a 2-game win streak next week, because I think that they end up beating Carolina Panthers. I think they're favored by 11, and they'll probably cover the spread.
The Fox broadcast showed a really revealing stat in this Cowboys and Giants game, where the Cowboys in their wins are averaging like 27, 28-point victories, but in their losses, each loss they're losing by 20 plus points. And so it really, Yeah, we sure did. 32 points for me. But anyways, it really just reveals who the Cowboys really are, and I think it says it best. So Kevin, the Seahawks, they defeated the Commanders 29-26.
Man, it was a tough one. It was a tough one, but I don't think the Washington Commanders this season has been completely shit. The one thing that they have gotten out of this season is a franchise quarterback. Sam Howell, 29 of 44, 312 yards, 7.1 yards per catch or per throw, and 3 touchdowns. I cannot wait for them to let go of John Rivera and let Eric Bieniemy be the head coach because he is going to open this offense. Sam Howell is leading the NFL in yards. Like, this dude is slinging that bitch. And Terry McLaurin's getting going. Brian Robinson is the running back of the future. 8 carries, 38 yards, 5 per run. And then he had a huge catch for 119 yards, 20 yards per catch, and a touchdown. But I couldn't come on here and not show no love to the Sea Pigeons. We all know our loyal listener, Manny, it wanted me to come on here and let them know that Geno did not write back. 31 of 47, 369 yards with 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker is showing that he is last year wasn't a fluke. 19 rushes, 63 yards, and he had 1 catch for 64 yards and a touchdown. And Shaun, our guy, Jackson Smith, the Jigba, is showing that he is legit. 4 catches for 53 yards, 13 yards per catch. We have Tyler Lockett going 8 catches for 92 yards with a touchdown, and then DK Metcalf doing his thing. This could be a top 3 trio in the NFL next season.
Speaking of Manny, his lady Amber is in the YouTube comments. She heard what you said, Kevin, when you were saying that the Lions are the second best team in the NFC, as she says, go Niners. But Manny's obviously a Seahawks fan. So, Seahawks fans, they're feeling real good about themselves right now. They got the same record as the Niners, 6-3, feeling real good. We'll just wait and see until that matchup comes up, because the Niners are just going to have to humble them once again. And the final NFL game that we haven't talked about this week, we talked about just in passing when the show started, as on Monday Night Football, the Broncos defeated the Bills 24-22. And there were a couple significant stats from this game. Number one, the Broncos defense has been playing extremely well over the last 2 games. In the first 7 games, they had 7 takeaways. Over the last 2 games, they've had 9. And then also, Russell Wilson, he has been playing better as of late as well. And, the Broncos, they're looking a lot better than they did earlier. So, Toddy, Broncos country?
That's right, baby.
That's right.
I think Russ only had like 3 or 4 incompletions in this game, so he didn't play bad. I thought the defense played really well. Forced Josh Allen to throw picks like he usually does. Josh Allen was minus 140 to throw picks, so Vegas was like, "You're gonna throw a pick tonight. Just you wait." To throw 2 picks was you were in the plus money there. So, Russ went on the road, got a big win. I think the Bills kind of gift wrapped them a win a little bit, because at the end of the game, they
12 men on the field.
didn't have any timeouts, so they had to run their kicker onto the field. And for some weird reason, Sean McDermott had 12 guys on the field, and the kicker misses the kick wide right. I'm thinking the game's over. He missed the 41-yard field goal. Niner fans can relate to that. So when he shanked the field goal, all of a sudden you're hearing Joe Buck say, "Oh, wait, there's a flag." And I'm like, oh, no. But I'm thinking that it's like maybe, it was legal formation because they didn't get all the guys set. Maybe it was something like that. No, it's 12 men on the field. So 5-yard penalty, you're going to get to move closer. And you get another chance to kick this field goal and potentially win the game. And what does he do? You give the kicker 2 chances to, kick a field goal to win the game. He's probably going to make the second one. So congrats to the Broncos, man. What a way to lose for Bills Mafia. And we're going to have to have conversation about Josh Allen and how good this Bills team actually is. And are the Bills going to make the playoffs? I think the answer is no. If I look at it right now, the Bills probably miss the playoffs if they keep playing like this.
We shall see. It'll be interesting, and we'll continue to talk about it every week here on Stats Over Politics, as here we are on episode number 61. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. We got our last couple segments here for episode 61. And Kevin, it's now time for your favorite segment, Fact or Cap. You're still muted.
The mute button got you.
It's all good. As
there we go. We are back. We are back in action. Like how you said, the mute button got me. But this was a factor cap that I wanted to do last week, and I was really nervous that I wasn't gonna get the chance. But he continues to show why he deserves to be a topic of discussion. So Toddy, I'm gonna bring it to you first. Factor cap. CJ Stroud is a top 8 quarterback in the NFL.
What? See the notes. He didn't bamboozle me. He said bring a top 10 list. He wanted to put 8 in there. 8 guys better than Coleridge Bernard. Okay, so I was ready to say that he's a top 10 quarterback. Let's see. Right now, Coleridge Bernard top 8. I'll say no. I'll say cap. I think he's top 10, so he's kind of like right outside. So those guys that I would take over him. Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts. I'll still take Josh Allen over him, even though he's playing really bad. Lamar. Who am I missing?
I love the sound effects also for our audio-only listeners.
I'll probably take, I already said, Joe Burrow. Oh, Herbert. I'll take him. When healthy, Aaron Rodgers is a guy that I think a lot of people will probably say. But I won't put him on this list right now because he's hurt, obviously. So I'll just say right now. But I did say Justin Herbert right now. Let's see. Let's go by it. Did I say Hurts yet? Yeah, Hurts. Probably Dak right now. I think Jared Goff is a guy that's been playing at a top 10 level right now, just based off of his numbers and what he's been putting up week in and week out. Would say Kirk too, but Kirk is hurt. So yeah, he's like 10. I think CJ's 10. He's like top 10. So for this segment, I'll say cap right now. I think he's better than Brock Purdy, in my opinion. Like, if the Niners had a chance to get CJ Stroud, they'd jump on it. So, I love Brock Purdy as my quarterback. If we had a chance to have CJ Stroud, I think everybody would jump at that opportunity. But I'll say cap. He's not top 8, but I think he's top 10. So he's like right outside.
All right, Shaun, I'm going to bring it to you next. Factor cap. CJ Stroud is a top 8 quarterback in the NFL.
This is a fact. I can't believe I'm saying it's a fact. It's a fact. And I promise you, Toddy, you probably will not believe me, but I promise you, this is me putting all of my Ohio State fan bias aside. And especially
probably
with the little... Yeah, I could definitely see it by the end of the year, at least for your opinion, because in my opinion, it's already happened right now. I've seen enough. Top 8, and Kevin's always very strategic with these factor caps, like top 8 versus top 10. It's a good distinguisher on top 8 versus top 10. But just looking at the list of like the top quarterbacks in the NFL, I'd still take Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, a lot of the guys that Toddy already mentioned, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, taking all those guys over him. That's 6 guys. But if I also employ the caveat that Toddy mentioned about guys being hurt, guys like a Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, even a Matthew Stafford is hurt right now, then that's when I lean, I do think CJ Stroud is a top 8 quarterback. And so even if I don't count the guys that are hurt, then CJ's probably like number 8. And if I do count the guys that are hurt and leave them out, then CJ's probably like 6 or 7 for me. So this is a fact. I've already seen enough, and I'm usually the guy to try not to overreact, but to me, CJ Stroud, he's a top 8 quarterback in the NFL already. I mean, the names that we mentioned earlier, and I'll wrap this up, but the names that we mentioned earlier in terms of the discussion that he's putting himself in with a Jim Brown in the discussion of, I don't think it'll actually happen, but even being involved in the discussion to win MVP as a rookie, and then as Kevin mentioned with Dan Marino, possibly getting a vote, like you're putting yourself in the conversation with Hall of Famers. Yeah, to me, CJ Stroud is top 8 in the NFL already. This is a fact.
10 weeks in.
Crazy.
Long season.
Crazy.
Like Toddy said, 10 weeks in. Factor cap. CJ Stroud, the top 8 quarterback. And like Shaun said, this is a fucking fact. Let's just break down the numbers. 318 attempts, 2,626 yards, 9 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, and 2 picks. He has been the best deep ball thrower in the NFL of 20 yards plus. 147.5 passer rating, which leads the NFL. 6 touchdowns to 0 picks, which is the highest ratio in the NFL. 665 yards, which leads the NFL. 64% completion rate, which leads the NFL. CJ Stroud is on an elite list of quarterbacks that have lead the league in yards per game and turnover interception ratio. Can you guys name me those other 4 guys on this list that joined CJ Stroud?
Mahomes on there.
Mahomes is on there. He did that in 2019.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is not on there.
Herbert?
Herbert is not on there.
Burrow.
Nope.
That they still play like
No, both these guys no longer play.
Oh, Brady?
Brady did it in 2015.
Drew Brees.
Peyton Manning did it in 2013.
Oh, okay.
So, is he a top 8 quarterback? This is a fact. I'm only taking 7 quarterbacks over CJ Stroud. And like Shaun and Toddy mentioned, they had injuries play into their list. I did not. I just did straight up outright. I have Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson. And at 8, I have CJ Stroud. That's putting him over guys like Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, and I stand on it. Because like I mentioned, we are talking about the team with the 2nd overall pick. Having hope in November, having something to look forward to. He is changing this town. He is changing this culture behind him and DeMeco Ryans. So he's an MVP candidate, like Shaun says. So he has to be a top 8 quarterback. So I'm going to have to go fact. I'm sorry, Toddy. I see it in your face. I saw you put in the OH. I know you think we're homers, but it's hard to go against.
I get it. It's week 10. Kevin is a what have you done for me lately guy. He's been killing it lately. They're 5-4 right now. I would like to see them contend for the AFC South title spot. That would kind of guarantee them a playoff berth. I feel like that would cement him as probably a top 5 quarterback if he does that in his rookie year. Really the last rookie quarterback I saw kind of just put the team on his back and just bombard them to the playoffs was Andrew Luck. And I think Andrew Luck was a guy that we all thought would probably would have become a Hall of Famer if he didn't retire so young due to all of those injuries. So if he is able to kind of just, put the Texans on his back and kind of just will them to the playoffs, then I'm like, all right, he's probably a top 5 guy. This is, things that we saw, when Mahomes first came into the league and just started putting up insane, crazy numbers coming out of nowhere. And they were just getting to the AFC Championship every year. We were just like, oh, that's the guy. And then when we saw Burrow kind of just, go on his run and take his team, to the playoffs several times, AFC Championship, Super Bowl, and, end up taking out Mahomes. So, he's the guy. People were saying that he was better than Patrick Mahomes that year that they ended up beating the Chiefs that one year. So, Cole Rich has shown me a little bit more. I get it. 10 weeks, is a very large sample size, but I'd like to see a little bit more from Mr. Bernard and him kind of go in and just be just a little bit more consistent. The numbers are there. Kevin pointed out some great numbers, him being the number 1 deep ball thrower and, the list that he's on with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes, good company to be on. But, just want to see a little bit more. They are 5-4 right now. They're not leading the division. I think the Jags still are because they have a better record, but they do have the head-to-head tiebreaker because they have already beaten them, and that was in Jacksonville. They won it pretty handedly too. So I'm just gonna stand on it, and Shaun can post the meme of Patrick Starr in the Coliseum. I'm standing on it right now, and right now as of Week 10, this is a cap. CJ Stroud is not a top 8 quarterback in the league right now.
So I think we need a notebook shot, Shaun. He said if they make the playoffs, CJ Stroud is a top 5 quarterback.
Yes, I'll stand on that.
So let's get the notepad out. Let's get the notepad out because if CJ Stroud wins the division, I want you to keep this energy, Ohio through and through.
Oh no, I'm gonna be riding high because if they're winning the division, they're gonna be a scary team to play in the playoffs. I don't think a lot of teams would want to play, Coleridge in that Texans offense. So if they get their way into the playoffs and they host a playoff game, I'm thinking if they end up making the playoffs, they would probably be like a 3. They'd be a 3 seed, no? Probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
They'd have to play someone from the fucking AFC South.
Yeah, so that'd be crazy if they play can he get a playoff win in his first year? If they play the Jags at home, first game, playoffs, probably picking the Texans to win that game.
All right, Toddy, give me the quote so I can officially write it down. And by the way, as you say it, because Kevin's going to clip this, so let's hear it, Toddy. Let's hear your hating ass CJ Stroud quote.
So I said, as of Week 10, CJ Stroud is not a top 8 quarterback. However, if the Texans, win the AFC South, then CJ Stroud is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Okay. Got you.
That's Week 10.
I need you guys to just talk amongst yourself for about 30 seconds as I write this down real quick.
Yeah, we'll clip this. And
most definitely.
Yeah,
this is going to be something we come back to. Like we talked about with the Jimmy Garoppolo. All these factor caps come back to light.
They do come back to light.
And while Shaun's writing, we I don't know if you guys peeped this, but our Twitter was getting a lot of Houston Rockets love. And they were quoting my factor cap with Jalen Green and Austin Reeves, and they were not.
Did I say that Austin? Did I say Austin? No, I think you said Austin.
No, I'm the only one who believed that he would be better.
Yeah, so they're coming. Like I said, the Rockets are in 4th place right now. This is
So we're talking about teams that people are going to be scared of playing in the playoffs. I was hoping Garry was going to be here because I feel like he would have been a more balanced factor cap. So Toddy, I'm going to bring it to you first. Factor cap. Joshua Dobbs is better than Brock Purdy.
Oh my God. Let's stop it here.
And Toddy, before you answer this question as well, I just wanted to read the official quote that has gone down in the infamous notebook that we haven't heard from. I haven't written anything in this notebook since July, so thank you, Kevin, for reminding me of where I've been lacking. But the official quote from Jaevon says, CJ Stroud is not a top 8 quarterback as of Week 10. But if the Texans win the division in 2023, he is a top 5 quarterback.
Can you date it?
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
November 13th. Put it down.
November 13th, episode 61, the first episode of year number 2 of Stats Over Politics.
About 10:08:35, I think.
Yeah, there you go. So, Toddy, go ahead and answer the factor question.
For clip purposes, let me ask you again, Toddy. So, factor cap. Joshua Dobbs is better than Brock Purdy. Factor cap.
This is cap. I get the astronaut has been on the mat. This is giving me Geno Smith vibes. Like last year, he was kind of coming, set the league on storm. No one saw him play in 10 years. Like there wasn't no tape on Geno Smith. He was telling everybody he wasn't going to write back. And I feel like now the league is kind of starting to catch up to him. Right now, Josh Dobbs is running around looking like Mike Vick in a Vikings uniform, and Wes is happy, and he's coming at everybody and saying, you're picking against Vikings. We beat you guys on Monday night. And that was obviously with Kirk Cousins. But, Dobbs kind of coming into the game after Jared Hall gets knocked out of the game. And Dobbs has the Dobb magic, the NASA magic, as I'll probably start saying. He's running around in this game against the Saints, who I picked against them at home. And, he's finding TJ Hawkinson. He's finding Jordan Addison, a lot of people kind of sneakily are. Jordan Addison has a lot of touchdowns. I don't know how many touchdowns he has, but he should be in that conversation for Rookie of the Year. I think it's kind of CJ's job to lose, or award to lose, that is. But I think Jordan Addison is a guy that's been getting open and finding the end zone a lot this past year. So Josh Dobbs come in. I think the Vikings make the playoffs. So, but is he better than Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy has multiple playoff wins. He's on pace to throw for, I think, over 3,000 yards. So I don't think Josh Dobbs will do that. Is Josh Dobbs a top 15 quarterback in this league? No. I get it. You know, he's the new hot thing right now, but I feel like let's just slow our roll a little bit on Josh Dobbs. I get it. You know, the Vikings are the sexy team, the new hot girlfriend that you get. But then over time starts coming, you see that she likes to pick her nose. She smokes cigarettes, and she doesn't. she doesn't. You know, take a shower every day. So we'll kind of start to see, you know, rear its ugly head. You know, when Fiona before in Shrek, you know, she's nice and all pretty before that sunlight starts to hit, and then all of a sudden she turns into an ogre at the end. So let's slow down. Let's slow down on Josh Dobbs a little bit. But he's on fire right now. Shaun, you can quote me now. You can put this in the notebook too. We got 2 notebook quotes. I think the Vikings are going to make the playoffs. You can say that right now, but I don't think
that's not bold. That's not bold.
I don't think Josh Dobbs is that good. I don't think Josh Dobbs is that good. So
I agree with you. I definitely think that the Vikings are going to make the playoffs too. I mean, what I said to Wes is I learned my lesson on Monday night. Whether or not Kirk Cousins is still around, I learned my lesson on Monday night. And I was the only one to pick the Vikings to beat the Falcons, even with Hall starting, because I was just a believer in the Vikings. And then the astronaut comes in the game, wins it. And the coolest part about that is that Kevin O'Connell was literally like telling him in the headset, all right, so your receiver to the right, he's about to run a post in. Your receiver on the left, he's about to run a go route. He's about to run this. He's about to run that. And then Josh had to just do the best he could. And I just thought that was so
Can you give us
cool.
the backstory on why we're calling Josh Dobbs the astronaut, as we called him in the group chat?
Well, basically, I'm not too versed on it, but basically, isn't it because he did like some type of astronaut training at NASA, and so like he is like a legitimate astronaut. Like he hasn't actually gone to space, but I mean he's the closest thing to it as far as Earthlings.
Yeah, I think it's something where he like did like a program with NASA, and NASA breeds a lot of astronauts. So I don't think that many guys in the NFL have done any projects or anything with NASA. So, I mean, I think this guy is a legit astronaut. And so, you're seeing NASA kind of post the NASA program stands with Josh Dobbs. And so, yeah, it's pretty insane. So it's a cap. I don't think he's better than Brock Purdy.
All right, Shaun, I'm going to bring it to you next. Fact or cap? Joshua Dobbs, the astronaut, is better than Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy.
This is cap. He didn't even have his jersey in the Arizona team store like 6 weeks ago. I like Josh Dobbs. I respect Josh Dobbs. But Brock Purdy, like, he didn't lose his first game until like 3-4 weeks ago against Josh Dobbs' future team. And yeah, they had a little bit of a slide. But I've seen more from Brock Purdy on a more consistent basis. It's not just the 49ers fan in me, I promise. But I really love what I've seen from Josh Dobbs, whether if it be on the Cardinals or now on the Vikings. And it's really cool just how he was able to really resurrect his career. And he took some great advice from Mike Tomlin, basically about like creating your own path and your own circumstances, and just continuing to push through adversity. And Josh Dobbs is an inspiration, but unfortunately, I guess I'll have to be a hater in this sense and say that it's cap. Josh Dobbs is not better than Brock Purdy.
So, fact or cap? Joshua Dobbs is better than Brock Purdy. When I made this, I was sitting back and I'm like, damn, if Brock Purdy was an Arizona Cardinal, I think they would be just as bad. It's Arizona. We talked about the shit show in Carolina. We talked about the shit show in Arizona. It's a complete shit show. We talked about with Gannon not being able to really be a good leader of men, A, B, C, and D. Joshua Dobbs is out there throwing to people on the practice squad. If he had a Brandon Ayuk, a Kittle, a McCaffrey, a Debo Ayuk, I think Joshua Dobbs is up there. So I'm gonna have to go fact. We talked about. Well, let me clarify.
Clip yourself on this one, Kevin. Clip yourself on this one.
I talk about how Brock Purdy's a system quarterback, and when things are not all glitter and glam, he goes back to Mr. Irrelevant. It's never been glimmer or glam. We all saw the video. He didn't even know where the home locker room was. He was just walking onto the field in the street clothes. He said, I do this shit. I'm just going onto the field. Show me where the money's at. The field, take me there. Joshua Dobbs is is playing better right now than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a system quarterback. Joshua Dobbs is the system. Like Shaun mentioned. What's the call, coach? Post route, slant, deep ball. Got it. Hype. What's your name? TJ? Hey, man, I'm going to throw this ball. What's your name? Jordan?
TJ went off yesterday.
Hey, man. Just saying it. It's not crazy to say that Joshua Dobbs is better than Brock Purdy. It's not crazy to say. But I understand it. You guys are Niners fans. That's why I was really hoping Garry would be here to kind of balance it out. But as you guys all know, our YouTube factor caps have been going kind of crazy. So, hopefully there's some people on my side or, Niner Nation will get on my back.
Yeah, you can count on that. Niner Nation is definitely going to come for you. As we start to wrap things up here on episode number 61 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. The final segment that we have for this week is Vonny's Hotline. Kevin, I know you have to be up early in the morning, so I just wanted to give you the option of cutting out right now if you had to. And so thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you again next week. And you'll be back again on Friday with Toddy for an NBA episode, correct?
Yes, sir. We'll be back and ever. We're talking about all the good things in the NBA. And, Kev, just a little sneak peek. I know we all saw Cam Reddish doing this thing. Toddy, who called it? Kevin Dent.
One game. I saw one game.
That's the start. You got to start somewhere. He missed the game-winning shot in San Antonio. All you Laker fans made him deactivate his Instagram, and he's been balling. So,
all right, Kevin. Well, we look forward to hearing more about Cam Reddish and your analysis on that to justify how one game could be much more. But thank you for joining us, Kevin. Everyone will catch you and Toddy on Friday for our NBA episode as we wrap things up with Jaevon, Toddy, and Shaun Holko here on Stats Over Politics. Toddy, I want to hear how you've been doing. The people want to know. We didn't have an episode last week. We didn't get to tally up the picks from the previous week.
What I was going to do is new season, new year, do new hotline record. All
right.
We'll kind of just start fresh. Kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit on a couple of picks that we had. But I had a parlay pending during the baby shower.
How'd that work out?
We had, what do we have? I had
didn't Washington let you down?
Washington let me down while we were opening presents, and it all went out the window because Washington, I will tell you what happened because I was trying to figure out what happened because I saw the pick six. Washington was up by, I believe, 3 or 4 or something like that. And they got an interception, ran it all the way to the 2-yard line where the guy wanted to celebrate a little bit too early. And when a guy, before he runs into the end zone, he just drops the ball right at the goal line. So he runs the ball all the way to the 2-yard line and just drops the ball. And the ref never signaled for a touchdown, but everyone's going nuts. Everyone's celebrating in the end zone. And then little old number 52 comes and dives on the ball at the 1-yard line, and the ball's down at the 1. And so I think the very next play, Utah or Washington gets a safety, and so they make the game a 7-point game, and so they get the ball back. Washington drives all the way down the field, and it's 4th and whatever at it's going to be a 30-something yard field goal, and the kick gets blocked. And I'm just you got to be kidding me. So just one of the worst beats of all time. Had Missouri over Tennessee, and Missouri was a home dog in that game, plus 115. ended up dog walking Tennessee by a shit ton. And we had the Georgia Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are just a wagon, man. They're a force to be reckoned with right now. I think I had them minus 10.5, and they ended up winning by like 20 something points. Pretty much the only team was Washington -8, and had some chances, but you live and you learn. But look no further. College football is actually going to be ending pretty soon, and college basketball starting, baby. Now, I do not recommend. College basketball is not for the weak. I will not.
Not at all.
I will not recommend gambling on college basketball. But that's what we do over here on Stats Over Politics, man. We gotta get it. We gotta spread it all out. We gotta spread it over a vast margin of. We gotta get all sports in. Me and Kevin were kind of going at it in the group chat about the Duke Blue Devils laying an egg at home to the Arizona Wildcats, on which Caleb Love kind of, balled out in his Arizona debut. And Shaun and Kevin are guys who were not high on a guy of Caleb Love, saying he was going to be playing for the Guangdong Tigers, and said, get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. And this, that, and the third. And for him to go into Cameron Indoor Stadium and, knock down a bunch of clutch free throws and hit a couple of clutch threes in Cameron, it really took over. It really sent something into me. And so for Shaun and Kev, this is for Caleb Love, man. So he kind of came out and proved those guys wrong. But tomorrow is Super Tuesday. It's kind of what they call college basketball. And Duke and Michigan State do play. Duke is favored by 4 points in this game. Michigan State laid an egg to James Madison, a plus 1,100 favorite last week. So I'm going to rock with Duke, even though they just, they burned me. They burned me last Friday. And so I'm going to roll with Duke here, -4. I think Proctor kind of just takes the reins a little bit. I think they're still trying to figure out who the best player on their team is, and Filipowski and, Jared McCain, who a lot of people, the top recruit coming in from Sacramento, I will add. But I think Proctor's going to figure out a way to get kind of assert himself in this game and get the Blue Devils the victory. So I'm going to go with Duke -4 here. The other crazy matchup in this game, I think it's Kansas and Kentucky. And Kansas is ranked number 1, obviously, coming into this game. And I think Kansas is -6 here. Kentucky, I think, makes this game a lot closer than a lot of people think. They're bringing in guys like DJ Wagner, guys like Rob Dillingham. I don't know if Kentucky wins, but I do think that they cover the spread here. Kansas is losing a bunch of people, but they are bringing in a bunch of new recruits, so I'm not really too sure on what they'll look like. But I do like Kentucky's team, and they are bringing back a monster, and I think Oscar Tshiebwe is returning. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he is. But he's a guy that pretty much grabs everything off of the glass, and he's pretty much a glass cleaner for this team. So I'm gonna rock with Kentucky +6 here. They might even end up winning outright. But I'm gonna rock with them +6 because I think their team is a lot better than a lot of people are kind of giving them. But we're gonna jump over to college football this coming up weekend. On Saturday, we have, let's see. Oh, I love this. Love. Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, boy.
Georgia Bulldogs are traveling to Tennessee. 9 a.m. game. I'm not sure if this is an ESPN game or this would be a great CBS game because CBS, SEC is kind of yeah. So Georgia has been just stomping a mud hole in a bunch of good. They just beat the shit out of Ole Miss this past weekend. Ole Miss was ranked 10. So it should be the top 10 team in the country. Now, a lot of people will say Ole Miss, is Ole Miss really a top 10 team? That's something to be argued. But Georgia is kind of just on a roll. They are -10 here. And, man, I got to land with Georgia here. I just don't see it with Tennessee. Joe Milton has been underperforming. They haven't really beaten anybody good and they were somehow still ranked like 14 last week, if I'm not mistaken. I think Georgia just rolls the shit out of them. So we're going to go with Georgia -10 here. Another game. Oh, you guys don't play until next week. By you guys, I mean the Ohio State Buckeyes. They travel to the big house next week. That's going to be there. That game is definitely going to be on the hotline next week. So definitely.
Real quickly, let
Go
me just interrupt you for just 1 second because we have not even mentioned Jim Harbaugh's name on this podcast and the fact that he was suspended this past week. He's going to be suspended again this weekend, and he will be suspended for the game because of the Connor Stallions cheating scandal. So there's that. Go Blue.
Go Blue. So yeah, he has been suspended for basically the remainder of the regular season for the sign stealing allegations. A lot of people, it's kind of tough to see like how to kind of like value it because people are saying everyone does it, nobody does it. It's it's Jim Harbaugh and just the allegations that he's kind of been facing this past year, just with the whole hamburger buying a kid the cheeseburger thing, and he got suspended for that, and then now he's getting suspended for sign stealing. So I feel like the NCAA kind of just has an out for him, and it's just like, oh, what the hell do you want the guy to do? So, this is going to be a crazy game. So, another game that is kind of like the marquee matchup type. I think this is the ABC game. Washington travels to Oregon State to face DJ Uiagalelei and the Beavers.
Are you sure you want to do that after what happened with the Dogs this past weekend?
Oregon State has the defense to do this. Washington, they usually beat up Utah. I thought has a pretty good solid defense, but Washington's offense is so high powered. But they're traveling on the road to Oregon State. This could be a game where Washington lays an egg here. Michael Penix, a lot of people kind of consider him for Heisman hopefuls. I'm going to rock with Oregon State here. I'm going to take the points here -2.
Wow.
I think just the home field advantage aspect is going to be something that you kind of have to look at. And Washington has been kind of, hasn't been playing. I feel like where they peaked was the Oregon game. And obviously they, beat a USC team who, has been lesser because they can't stop water. They can't stop anything. They kind of slip up against Arizona a little bit. There's a couple of games where they should have blown out these opponents, but they kind of squeaked by. And I feel like they won't be able to squeak by Oregon State in the spot with this defense. And I feel like this defense is legit in the Pac-12. And I feel like they kind of ruined Washington's playoff hopes. I don't think they'll ruin their Pac-12 title hopes, but I do think that they are favored they're favored at home. So I'm kind of usually Washington would be favored in the spot, but then to kind of be dogs on the road makes me a little skeptical. So I'm going to walk with Oregon State -2 here. So far, to kind of put it into grips, we have 6 games so far. I'm probably going to have more picks on Friday for basketball as well. NBA, that is. But so far we have, for college basketball tomorrow, we have Duke -4 over Michigan State, and we have Kentucky +6 against Kansas. And then we're going to jump all the way over to Saturday. We have Georgia -10 on the road against Tennessee. Tennessee is just they don't got it all figured out. So you're going to see pretty early that Georgia is going to be that team that's going to roll. And then we have Oregon State -2 at home against number 5 Washington. This is saying this before the college football announcement show that they do every week for the top 4 teams, and Washington could be a number 4 team, by the way. And yes, Ohio State is in. I think they're number 1 team currently right now. But I think after tomorrow,
number 1.
I think after tomorrow they'll be 2 or 3, just based off of the weeks that Georgia and Michigan had. Georgia beating Ole Miss, top 9 team, and Michigan beating Penn State, a top 10 team without their head coach. So those are good things to have on the resume. Now we're going to skip all the way over to old Sunday.
Sunday.
The NFL usually has most of its games. A lot of good games on the slate here. I'm kind of just looking it over a little bit. There's a couple of games on here. Do we have to go on Sunday or do we go?
That Monday night game is pretty tasty, but you said that you didn't really want to make a pick in that one.
Let's go to Thursday. We'll go Thursday. I'll take the Ravens minus 3.5 here. Tough spot for both teams. Both teams are coming off of a loss. Heartbreaking losses. End of game losses. Walk-off losses. Both these teams are kind of coming off of. Cincinnati traveling to Baltimore. I just think the Ravens at home, Thursday Night Football, I feel like the Ravens kind of bounced back. They showed a lot of promise in getting our guy Mitchell the ball a lot early on. I feel like we kind of feature him a little bit throughout the game. And if the Ravens are kind of up early and get an earlier lead, they'll kind of just hand the ball off more and kind of be able to milk the clock out a little bit. I don't see Lamar Jackson turning the ball over twice in prime time again. So they're going against Joe Burrow though. So this is a team that they are no slouch. But I am going to rock with the Ravens here minus 3.5. So we're going to take the points there. Wow. Monday Night Football.
How you feeling?
Monday Night Football. The over-under is 45.5. Primetime unders have been very, very prominent. I have been adamant on not picking a side in this game just because I think it's going to be a very, very close game. The Eagles do have the potential to go in and beat a Kansas City. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, are no, they're not. I was going to say they're undefeated at home, but they lost the first game at home to the Detroit Lions. So I like the over in this game. The over is 45.5, so basically 46 points. So each team will basically have scored 23 points. I see a lot of scoring being had in this game. A.J. Brown's kind of been on the tear. He's been scoring. He's been having 100-yard games, multiple touchdowns. Mahomes, we all know, at home. Travis Kelce. Taylor Swift is probably going to be at this game. So this will just make this game a lot more enticing, and people are going to be a lot more in tune with it. This has game of the year vibes written kind of all over it. And these are this is the Super Bowl rematch. I mean, were the two best teams in their respective conferences last year. And I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. So I'm just going to take the over in this game. Don't really know who's going to win this game. But I do like a lot of points being scored in this game. And that basically would mean that the over would have to hit. So the over could hit by halftime in this game, which is very, very possible. Just the back and forth. I think this game is going to be a shootout, nevertheless. So, yeah, those are the picks that we have. We can kind of review everything. We have tomorrow. We have Duke -4 over Michigan State. We have Kentucky +6 against Kansas. Saturday we have Georgia -10 over Tennessee. I'm telling you, Tennessee is going to get dog walked, and I get it. It's at home, but it's Georgia Bulldogs. And then we have Oregon State, slight favorite, over highly ranked Washington, undefeated Washington, that is, at home. So we're taking them -2 at home against the Washington Huskies. And then we're going to Thursday night. So I don't even have any Sunday picks on the hotline this week. So we're going to Thursday Night Football. We're taking the Ravens -3.5 over the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Monday Night Football, we are taking the over at 45.5 in the Chiefs-Eagles game. And those are all the picks that we got this week. And there will probably be a little bit more. We'll have probably some more picks. Just more basketball probably on Friday night. So stay tuned for those picks too as well. That mute button got you. Oh, no mute button.
Ah, damn it. The mute button got me too. We were talking about it with Kevin earlier. The mute button got me too. I was typing away on my keyboard, and I didn't want everyone to hear the clickety clack in the background.
Clickety clack.
Damn mute button got me too. But yeah, so in college basketball, we got Duke -4, Kentucky +6. College football, you got Georgia -10, Oregon State
Hey, it's on the
-2.
ticker. I made it to the ticker. My mom made it.
Made it to the ticker. That's why I was clickety clacking away. I wanted it to be there on the ticker for everyone to be able to see for themselves. Oregon State -2 in college football. Then in the NFL, Ravens -3.5. And for Monday Night Football, he's picking the over, which is 45.5. So that's Vonny's Hotline for this week. The first Vonny's Hotline of year 2 of Stats Over Politics. So now, Toddy, it's on you. There's the 6 picks. There's the ticker. We'll keep track. So then we'll keep a record of Toddy's picks. Toddy was about at 500 in year 1 of Vonny's Hotline. And so did very well to get things started. He's going to continue to roll. And we appreciate you all for tuning in for another week of Stats Over Politics. You know the deal. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you like the show, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. And you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. See all the great content Kevin's putting out there. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it as you've been tuned in to episode number 61, the first of year 2 of Stats Over Politics. For Jaevon, Toddy, Kevin, Dent, and our guy Garry Singh, who was at work tonight, I'm Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on another week of Stats Over Politics next week. However, Jaevon and Kevin, they'll be back again on Friday for our NBA, not even just NBA, for our basketball episode of Stats Over Politics, which you can catch every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you all on Friday for episode 62 of Stats Over Politics.